Hi everybody, this is Ben Colby, teen librarian from Enoch Pratt, and today we're going to talk about keychains. This is a beginner level video. Here I am in Tinkercad, Tinkercad.com. When you get here, you'll have to create an account. But once you do, you will have your dashboard available. You can always get back to your dashboard by clicking the rainbow icon in the top left. But I'm just going to create a new design to get started. Keychains are kind of a classic thing that a lot of people start with in terms of CAD and 3D design. I'm just going to show you a few versions of it. I'm going to start with a box, which I just dragged right over onto my work plane. These numbers are in millimeters, by the way. This is a 20 by 20 cube, a little bit less than an inch. I'm going to stick with millimeters for now. Let's squish down to 4 millimeters, which gives you a nice solid back. 20 is okay. I'm going to stretch it up to 25, and let's say we want our keychain to be between 2 and 3 inches. So that's pretty good. I've got 60 by 23. So that'll be between 2 and 3 inches wide and a little bit less than an inch tall. All right, what are we going to put on the keychain? Text. First thing you should do with text after you drag it over is change what it says. I'm just going to make mine say Pratt. And probably it'll be too big. You can also change the font if you like one of these four better. And you can mess with these settings too. But for now, I'm just going to keep it as it is. I'm holding the Shift key down to avoid warping it as I drag the corner here. All right, so that looks a little better. I'm going to move it over until it's overlapping. To move the camera around, I'm right-clicking and dragging. You can move this cube in the corner. You have some camera controls right here. Okay, so I don't want it to stick out quite that much, so I'm going to select just the words. I'm going to squish them down until they're just poking out a little bit. Very nice. Now we need a ring where we can attach this to a keychain. There are a couple of ring shapes, but trust me, the best one is the tube. That is because it's flat on the bottom, so it prints better. So I just put a tube shape over here. I'm going to squish it down to the same height or less. I'm going to move it into place. Design number 1 is complete. And I'm going to go ahead and group this. And if I wanted to submit that design, then I would say include the shape as an STL. And it'll produce the file. For now, I'm just going to put it off to the side and start over. We can also use all kinds of other shapes. Let's pick, well, how about this? Let's take one of those tube shapes and use that as the outline for something. So I'm going to take the tube shape, I'm going to squish it down to 4 in this case. I'm going to stretch that. Let's go back to text. And I can, you know what, let's do something weird here. P-R-A-T-T with spaces between. Just to get a slightly different effect there. That works. So yeah, again, I would say always make the text what you want it before you start changing the size. So I'm going to hold the Shift key to avoid squishing it. And actually, in this case, squishing it is really not that big of a problem, is it? I just want it to overlap. Oh, and I'm going to use my arrow keys. Oops. I'm going to use my arrow keys to kind of line it up a little closer. And I'm going to use that white box on the top to control the height. By the way, if you ever accidentally drag something off the ground like that with the black cone, D is the key that will get you right back to the surface. Just hit the D key. All right, so I'm just gonna change the height until it's just slightly above that thing. That's good. And I'll just use another tube shape. Let's make this one a little smaller. And I am holding the shift key right now. Oh, by the way, F zooms in to a selection. When you lose, it'll center on the shape and zoom in. Cool. So now I have the little ring. And I like this one. I'm going to drag a box over it. I am going to group it. You can change these colors, by the way, to anything you want, but all that matters is what we load into the printer. The colors you see in Tinkercad don't make any difference. All right, one more try. This, let me do the letters first for this. I want to create the word Pratt as 2 different text shapes this time. And this one, the first one is going to say P, let's give it 2 spaces, see how that looks. A, 2 spaces, T. Maybe you see where I'm going with this. What I'm going to do is now shrink that down to a reasonable size. Now I'm going to duplicate this by hitting the duplicate button or Control D up here. You can also use copying and pasting. So what that does is now I have an exact copy, except I actually wanted to leave it exactly where it was because I'm going to move it over until the letters are kind of in between the other ones. Do I like the way that looks? No. I'm going to go back to this and put an extra space in there. Great. Now I'm going to do the copy or the duplicate again. And the second one is going to have the other letters. R, T, wait, P-R-A-T-T. I guess there's only 2 other letters, right? And so I would need another space. Do I want more? No. That's fine. That looks good. So it looks like one word, but it's actually 2 different shapes. Why would I want to do this instead of just doing it all at once? Well, the reason is I can change the height now of just some of the shapes. So I'm going to take this one down to, let's say, 3, and I'm going to take this one with the 3 letters down to, I don't know, 4 or 5, let's say 5. And now, during the printing process, I can get different colors on these layers. So let's just make sure we hold all this together with any kind of shape. It does not matter too much. Let's get weird and try the torus. I'm going to just shrink it down first until it's, yeah, I'm hitting the F key to zoom in. You just have to make sure that it is smaller than your smallest shape, or, you know, flatter than your flattest one, if you want to think of it that way. Cool. So now I'm going to line it up on the side. I'm going to grab the edge and stretch it. That's pretty good. Like a little stretched out donut. And that should print pretty well. There's nothing holding up some of these things, but they're close enough to the stuff that is flat on the ground that it probably won't be an issue. Cool. And so this, I'm just going to go ahead and add that standard tube shape to it, and let's put it on this side this time. Oop, and I'm going to shrink it down. Actually, it does not matter if you warp it. And make sure that it's overlapping enough that there's no chance of it like cracking off. Keep in mind this is hard plastic that might crack. I love it. This is a very nice little keychain that we can put multiple colors on. So I'm grouping that. And in the next video, we will kick this concept up a notch until to make these things a little larger, and maybe we can make some wall hanging.